what's going on everyone? Today I'm starting a series called How It's Actually Done, where I'll go over the ways that my team and I, and just about every LFG you'll find, tackle every encounter in a raid. If you're a returning player, or maybe you have a couple clears of raids but just aren't sure what weapons are quote-unquote meta for every encounter, these videos will be for you. This video, as for right now, just kind of assumes that you're somewhat familiar with Vault of Glass, but maybe not quite comfortable enough to get into an LFG yet with random people, and maybe you're afraid to get kicked out. The recommendations I'm showing you today are what I personally use every time I run this raid, and it's pretty much the standard that we show players when teaching this raid in our Discord community as well. There are, of course, crazy DPS strats out there that are pretty obscure. Of course, they can outdamage anything that I can show you, probably for speed runs or anything like that. But my goal here is to show you the easiest, quote-unquote, best way and generally most accepted way to get it done. And just to get this out of the way real quick, make sure for any boss encounters to always try to use 3 reserve mods of whatever damage type you're using to max out your ammo capacity, and obviously 3 surge mods also matching your damage type to increase your damage by 22%, which is a lot. For the opening area, you can feel free to use whatever you want. But in general, I like to have a heavy-hitting special weapon like a fusion rifle or a shotgun, a good workhorse primary weapon like an SMG, auto rifle, hand cannon, whatever, and maybe a machine gun to handle the bigger enemies. And that's it, pretty easy. As for the strategy, if you can even call it that for this encounter, nothing's really changed since the raid came out a few years ago. Just have 2 people guard each plate to split it up evenly. Once you're done with that opening area, most people are going to want to get that secret chest, obviously for some spoils and some extra loot. So just follow this path here, and then we'll go to the Confluxes. For the Confluxes, again, in general, most people like to just split up into 3 teams of 2. 2 will guard the left conflux, 2 for the middle, and 2 for the right. As for what subclasses you bring here, it really doesn't matter at all. But since this encounter is essentially Ad Clear Simulator, feel free to go with any roaming super you want that can help clear out those enemies and wyverns when they spawn in. For your weapons, just make sure that you have anything that can handle overload champions, since you'll have some to deal with here. This season, in Season of the Wish, we have Overload Rocket Launcher, which works great with things like Galahorn or Dragon's Breath, so use that if you want to. This whole encounter is about 6 to 7 minutes of ad clear. It's very easy, just don't let anything get sacrificed and you're going to be good. That's all you need to worry about. Okay, now we've got Oracles. Our subclasses really don't matter here again, but if your team is dying quite a bit, Solar is generally really good for staying alive with the easy access to restoration, healing grenades, all that stuff to stay topped up on your HP. As for what roles you should split up into, most teams are going with 2 to 3 players on Team Oracles and 3 to 4 players on Team Ad Clear. Go with whatever your team prefers, as it's definitely doable to only have 2 people on Oracle duty, but go with as many people on Oracles as you want. If you are on Oracle duty, the undisputed top weapon is Xenophage, which can be acquired from a quest related to the Pit of Heresy dungeon, but this is absolutely not a necessity, so if you don't have Shadowkeep or you haven't ran Pit of Heresy for some reason, don't worry about it. It's just nice if you have it. You can use some special ammo weapons too, like fusion rifles, shotguns, or snipers to take out the Oracles as well. One thing that might have changed since last time you've run Vault of Glass is that people don't really call out L1, L2, R1 for the position oracle that they're shooting. We instead now just call the number oracle that we're going to shoot, which makes it a little bit easier when communicating. So if I have the 3rd and 4th oracle, for example, I would call out 3 and 4 when the oracles reveal themselves, and then I would call 3 and 4 as I shoot them to let the next person know, hey, you can shoot your oracle now. Hope that makes sense. It's a lot easier. This is what everyone does. If you're on Team Ad Clear, snipers and scout rifles are very useful for dealing with the hobgoblins that will constantly be sniping everyone, but other than that, just grab an SMG or a machine gun and you'll be set. Once you've cleared 5 rounds of oracles, the encounter is over. Moving on, we now have to deal with the Templar. For this encounter, since we're going over how people actually do the raid, if you get into an LFG, I can guarantee you that any LFG that you join, people will use this cheese strategy. I normally don't like showing cheeses on my channel because I feel like you should know how to do it correctly, but again, literally no one does it the real way. There's just no reason to. This fight is really quick. We'll keep the team's roles the same as they always have been though. You have one player grab the Aegis shield relic to handle that role and have the other 5 players on damage duty. For this cheese strat from the POV of the relic holder, just grab the relic and wait here until the Ritual of Negation starts. Then you can remove the Templar shield once everybody is ready to deal damage, and obviously once you have super. The only other thing you have to do as the relic holder is just block the teleports. Look for those giant glowing rings and stand in them until they disappear. That's it. Your team should be able to do a very easy one phase. So, from the damage dealer's point of view, what you'll do is actually just jump off the edge before the encounter starts. The relic holder will then start the encounter, and what you're going to do as a damage dealer is just wait until the timer says 157 when the Ritual of Negation happens. In this encounter, you'll be able to revive yourself since you died before the encounter started, and you'll pretty much be able to drop a Well of Radiance and start doing damage once the relic holder removes the Templar shield. For your team composition, because we obviously have a boss that we need to deal with here, we of course want to have a Well of Radiance ready to go. Any other damage dealing Guardian should have their highest burst supers possible equipped. For weapons, make sure to have one player using Galahorn and the rest of you can use your favorite legendary rocket launcher. If you happen to run out of rocket ammo or if reconstruction on your rocket launcher is reloading your rocket, make sure to swap to any one of the amazing fusion rifles that are available for crafting right now. Once you've beaten a Templar, we've got to get past the Gorgon's maze. Realistically, if you're a newer player and you're with a lot of other newer players in an LFG, the team that's carrying you might not want to grab the secret chest because it's just a little bit of extra hassle that people normally don't want to deal with. But if you are with a team or maybe you just want to know how to do this on your own, what you'll need to do to open the gate to get the secret chest is find these 3 floating boxes, like Vex boxes that are scattered throughout this Gorgon maze. It's best to have one person do this, but Weeb just has this good path down, so I'm following him here. Once you get all these, I'll show you where the secret chest is. What's nice here is once you shoot all 3 boxes, you can die and the gate will still be open. So if the Gorgons find you, it's no worries. As far as getting to the secret chest, here's the path that you'll need to take right here. As far as getting through the maze as easy as possible, it's not necessary, but try to have one Void Hunter with Omni Oculus that can make your team invisible. You'll see here in the run, there are 2 points where we go invisible, we kind of group up together, go invisible, and then run together. You want to make sure you're not double jumping while you're on the ground. The Gorgons don't like that, they'll find you. But as long as you can do this, it actually is very, very easy. Just make sure to stick together as a group. There's no reason to not go for the next secret chest, so we'll just make sure to cover that here. Just cross the giant chasm here. You'll see I'm using Eager Edge to do so. If you don't have an Eager Edge sword, you should probably get one, but if you don't have one, you can just use the floating platforms to take you down. Much slower, but you'll get there. Then you can make your way up this pathway here for some free loot in a very easy secret chest. All right, we're almost done. Now we are at the Gatekeepers. It is possible to cheese this encounter by freezing the Praetorians by using stasis or the conditional finality shotgun, and you can just kick them off the edge. But in my opinion, it's just not necessary. This encounter is so easy anyway, and it's actually kind of fun. Just have 2 players go into the portals, 2 players that are ready to be floaters that will help carry the relic between the portals, and 2 more that will help guard the plates to keep those portals open. Almost everyone can help with the Gatekeepers that will spawn in every 30 to 40 seconds or so when they are outside of the portals. Just a refresher, killing the Gatekeepers will allow the portals to be open. So if there's a Gatekeeper alive, no portals will be available. Make sure that at bare minimum, the plate holders have something overload that will help them deal with those overload minotaurs that spawn in every 30 seconds or so. Galahorn is great here for everyone, obviously because we have overload rocket launcher, but it also helps inside the portals. There are quite a few enemies that spawn within those portals. It's good for the wyverns, so you might as well use something like Galahorn. Once you've killed 3 Praetorians in each portal, everyone can go to the front of the room, kind of where Atheon's throne is, and then we're going to have more Praetorians spawning in up there. You'll want to guard the Conflux, make sure that they don't sacrifice. That will ruin the run for you. So it's pretty easy. You'll see here that we are kind of using stasis to freeze them every now and then, but you absolutely don't need stasis at all. Once you've guarded the Conflux successfully for about a minute or so, that's all you need. And finally, we have Atheon. Not too much has changed in strategy since it launched, just like every other encounter, aside from what weapons we use for damaging now. Back then we had things like Anarchy and grenade launchers. It was just a little bit different. Since this encounter is pretty much fully randomized, we can't really set up rolls. There is a cheese you could do, but it's just not really worth it. You would do kind of what we did with the Templar fight where everyone jumps off the edge, one person's left alive, and that person automatically gets teleported. They can then solo the oracles, so once that person gets teleported, everyone else can revive, they can read the oracles. But the whole cheese kind of is useless unless you can get the one phase, because if you have to go into a second phase, no matter what, 3 random players will be teleported. So I don't know, in my opinion, it's not really worth it. This fight is pretty easy anyway. All right, cheese out of the way, let's go back to the normal method. If you did not get teleported, you need one person reading oracles, which is what I'm doing here. The other 2 players should help open up the portal where the other team got teleported. If you do get teleported, just have one person grab the relic, doesn't matter who, and they will be cleansing you every 5 to 10 seconds or so as the other 2 players shoot the oracles that the team that did not get teleported tell you to shoot. If you're the one that's calling out oracles, what most people will do is just call out the first 2 oracles that appear, leaving the third one as just the last one that the inside team needs to shoot. For example, this call out was left, close middle. So the team knows to shoot the left one, then the close middle one, then the only one that's left is the far middle one. Hope that makes sense. No need to make this any more complicated. One thing I would like to recommend though is that oftentimes I see the non-teleported team taking forever to start doing damage. Once you see that Time's Vengeance is active, that means you should already be doing tons of damage, so you should already be waiting on those stairs to do damage before the teleported team shoots those final sets of oracles. You don't need to wait for the teleported team to make it outside. That's a waste of like 15 seconds. For subclasses here, I'd recommend having at least 2, maybe 3 Well of Radiance Warlocks ready to go, just in case 1 or 2 get teleported. That way you don't have to wait for them to exit the portal to drop down the well. It just doesn't make sense. For damage here, if you're not a Well of Radiance Warlock, just bring exactly what you brought to the Templar. High damage supers, Galahorn, legendary rockets is just the overall best way to get this done. It's definitely possible to do a pretty easy 1 phase, but most teams will probably be in the 2 to 3 phase territory until they get it all figured out. And that's how people actually do Vault of Glass right now. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I do try to respond to as many as I can. If you are looking to run Vault of Glass, join the Discord, let us know. We can maybe try to help get some runs in for you. We usually have at least a few raids going each week that we are willing to teach people. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely join. Introduce yourself when you get to the Discord, let us know, say hi. But that is it for this one. I will see you all in the Discord or the next video.